What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing the latest scenario pack for Marvel Champions, the card game. It is, of course, by Fantasy Flight Games. This is the Once and Future Kang, which was designed by Caleb Grace. Now I'm going to toss it over to Julie, who's going to tell you more about the Marvel Champions game system.
It is a cooperative 1 to 4 players that, according to the, I should say, is intended for ages 14 and above, and according to the box, plays in 45 to 90 minutes, but I think that depends on a whole lot of things.
Yes.
And we have seen games go longer than 90 minutes. The more players you have, the more time it takes for somebody to play, the longer it's going to take.
Especially if you've got some new players. If you look at Board Game Geek, the community says this plays best probably at about 2 players. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the Once and Future Kang scenario pack and what you're going to be doing, because this is definitely very different than some of the other scenarios. You will, of course, have to face the villain Kang and try to thwart his scheme. However, at a certain point, Kang will split up the players across time and space, meaning that up to 4 players, so if you are playing with a max player count, will have to face a different version of Kang and deal with his cards. You are separated from the other players, you cannot assist them, and anything that happens when you're drawing cards from the encounter deck will only affect players in that specific location. Once you've defeated Kang, well, you can decide to go join another player, and hopefully you do succeed in thwarting the schemes, because otherwise, when you have to take on Kang, he'll be a lot more powerful. So, I think I talked enough about the game. What time is it, Julie?
It's time to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow champion.
I'm going to take it to the table one more time.
Yeah, we want to get another one of those modular packs played. Now let's take a look at the components for the new scenario pack for Marvel Champions, the card game, the Once and Future Kang. Now you have a rule book. It's got the expansion symbol. It explains how to play the game, and you'll see the new keywords, so these new rules. What's very important here is you've got the setup and the create separate game areas. As you'll see in a moment, Kang can split up the heroes through time and space, so you have to defeat your own Kang before you can help out another player. Now, there are some things that can reach across time and space, but it doesn't sound like it really works well for our heroes. So keep that in mind in terms of how you pick your characters. They can adjust the difficulty, because there's Expert, Kang, and of course, there's the modular encounter sets. So we have it set up here with the base Kang deck, which is 43 cards. So we got Kang the Conqueror, the first enemy. And you notice it's not the number of hit points per player, but just hit points. Then you get Kang Immortus, Kang is Iron Lad, Kang Ramatut, Kang the Scarlet Centurion. So these are the 4 Kangs you may encounter when you get separated. Finally, you've got Kang the Conqueror, who you will have to defeat. So of course, he's got his 2 main schemes. And this has all the rules for when you're separated. You, of course, have the Chronopolis as well, Inexorable Feats, the Realm of Ramatut, the Present and Future War, and the King's Wrath. So these, I believe, are tied in to what's going to happen in the Masters of Time, and then this is going to be the final scheme. So Kang may get a Temporal Shield. So when Kang is attacked, discard Temporal Shield and prevent all damage from this attack, and then essentially he gains Retaliate. He's got future weapons, so when Kang attacks, the attack gains Overkill. If this attack damages a hero, that hero is stunned. After the attack, you get to discard the weapon, but that's no fun. Frozen in Time. When the attached character would ready, discard this card instead so he can freeze you. He's got his Macrobots. He can weaken you, steal your memories. So these obligations will come into play depending on the scenario, and you gotta be careful with them because they can have some negative effects. Then there's a whole bunch of different side schemes, so you can't trigger your alter ego actions per se. Kang cannot take damage, so you gotta get through his Dominion. That's just terrible. Pin down, place 2 threat here for each obligation in play. Oh, that can be a nasty one. You might have a rampage going on. You can use some energy blasts or manipulate the time stream, so you discard all your events in hand. Time travel tactics, it gains surge and has a 1 revealed effect. And then past machinations, so insight, and then each player searches the encounter deck and discard pile for a different obligation, reveals it, and shuffles it into the deck. That's no fun. Getting rid of obligations is what you want. Now, if you want to play on expert mode, you've got the expert Kangs. So you can see they're a little different. You will toss these in and replace the ones that we have here. Now after that, we've got the 3 encounter sets. So we've got the Ancient Warrior one. These guys are nasty. They have Quick Strike, or they can stun you from boost. We've got Chitauri Soldiers. Forced Interrupt. When Chitauri Soldier attacks you, discard the top card of the encounter deck. And you take indirect damage equal to the number of boost icons. Lots of indirect damage coming at you this way. And then, of course, there's a T-Rex, which has Toughness and it gains Piercing. Side scheme is Time Portal. When this scheme is defeated, shuffle it into the encounter deck instead of discarding it. That's just obnoxious. Then we've got Kang's Anachronauts. We've got Apocryphus. When revealed, discard an ally or support you control. Not that bad. Death Hunt 9000. Toughness, Villainous. When the minion activates, it gains a boost card, so it's almost like a main villain. You definitely want to kill that as soon as possible. So Rastin, Guard and Retaliate. Terminatrix, Quick Strike, and their attack is Piercing. Wild One, you discard 1 random card from your hand when revealed. That's no fun. And then their side scheme, when defeated, you must shuffle each tempo card in the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. And there's multiple ones of those. Now the Treachery card, Insight 1, when revealed, discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until a temporal minion is discarded, and then you must reveal the minion. So that's what you get when you put the Anachronauts in. Then lastly, we've got Kang, Master of Time. So you might have to fight Kang himself as just a regular minion. He's got Toughness, Villainous. Kang Master of Time gets +1 scheme and +1 attack for each obligation in your play area. He's got some time displaced soldiers. Then he's got a whole bunch of, well, just 2 more obligations. He's got the Light of the Century Sphere and then an Ancient Grudge, which will trigger him to attack you. And there you have it. We've taken a look at all the components in the Once and Future Kang scenario pack. Now keep it right here as Julie and I will be coming back at you with a review of this expansion. So the Once and Future Kang. What did you think of this scenario pack?
Well, we have mentioned in a couple different reviews when we've had some new champions come out that we needed some stronger villains, and they definitely delivered with this one. Kang is definitely a tough villain. I like the different mechanics. I wasn't sure that I loved being split up, and that mechanic of having to fight him on your own. It definitely requires you to have a champion that's well-rounded, because
well, you can go with an attack-based champion too.
Yeah,
but you have to be careful. The clock is running.
Yeah, and it depends what cards you're pulling, and what comes up, like what cards you're pulling for your own cards, what's coming up in the scenario. I was playing with Thor. And Thor's strength is with minions, and I just wasn't getting any minions.
Yeah, because you didn't get any minions to engage, so you weren't drawing cards, and you weren't just using all your abilities.
And I couldn't thwart because I had nothing to thwart, and the scheme, I think I came 1 away from the scheme going off. Anyways, it is definitely a different mechanic, and it's interesting. We played it several times.
Yeah, because we tried out, sorry to jump in, we tried out every single pack. Well, no, sorry. The only one we didn't try out was the Masters of Time pack, because during one of our plays, we literally got incredibly lucky. Only the base Kang cards came up, so we never actually got to face the Anachronauts. So we played another game with them, but we did get to experience most of what was in the expansion.
So we played it. I played it with Thor. I played it with Captain America. I played it with Black Panther. And I think really with Thor was the only one where I really felt at the times that I was not doing great, just because it depended on what cards. But then again, I also beat him up, and I think killed him in 1 turn as well.
Yes, you got all the right cards.
So, you definitely have to have champions, like the later champions that offer. You played with Doctor Strange.
And it did not go well with Doctor Strange, to be honest with you, just because of the scenario and the setup. I did not get the cards that I needed. and it was really tough. We were also in a terrible situation in that game because we had, how many side quests came out of the deck when we were playing? We had like 5 or 6 of them out at once. That's never happened to us in Champions before. So yeah, it definitely got out of hand. I was trying to get through my Invocation deck to start getting some of the nicer spells, but nothing was going my way. It was just, that was the game that we did the worst. Like, we won, and I'm pretty sure we made a mistake on a rule or two, and that's why we won. We probably should have lost that one.
So that being said, I definitely think it's fun. If you enjoy this game, if you enjoy Marvel Champions, this is a much needed addition to the game to allow you to play a villain that's that's a challenge for the upgraded, more recent champions that have come up.
Yeah, I gotta agree with Julie. I think this is definitely a collection essentially. Sorry, I said it twice. Just because of the difficulty with Kang as well as the new mechanics. I have to say the starting mechanic with Kang is definitely a little disappointing. You do have to deal an encounter card at the start, but we got pretty lucky and the encounter cards didn't do that much to us. And with his starting hit points of 12, I think I kind of felt like we were knocking him into next week, and like the first turn almost, he's first or second turn, we're already pushing into the next phase of the game. As Julie mentioned, when you're split up in time and space, it can definitely be challenging depending on your hero. I did fairly well with Black Panther just because I was able to get a lot of his equipment out, which really makes a big difference for the character. Struggled a lot with Doctor Strange, did not go well. And then playing with Iron Man, I had pretty much the best draw I've ever gotten playing Iron Man, and he was fully equipped, and Kang really didn't pose too much of a threat when you've got a fully equipped Iron Man out there. Now, it was still hard, don't get me wrong. I was down to like 1 health at one point. I ended up there because I strategically wanted to get down to 1 health because I was able to defeat Kang and then was able to go join Julie with some support and a few other mechanics. So I like the fact that this scenario really pushes players to the limit in terms of either managing a scheme and their health and the villain, or focusing on what they're going to do best, as such as smashing the villain down to be able to go and help out the other players. I can only imagine how complicated it's got to get with 4 players, with everyone having their own side quests and stuff in play. Now, the unfortunate thing about that is I don't think our player mat would be able to handle 4 players, but we got the second one. And the one thing I don't like about this expansion is there's a lot of little minutiae and details, and when it comes to setting up Marvel Champions, I find that it's not that difficult to set up, but it still takes a little bit of time. So the amount of setup that you have to do with each of the stages going through the game is a little disappointing. I would have liked to have seen something that was smoother and not as much stuff to remember, such as getting the encounter cards through each phase, bringing out your set-aside villain, putting them into play once you get to the final phase. So there's a few things that I didn't love about it, but still, the game needed a challenge, and this is challenging. So I definitely give this 2 thumbs up.
Which is not our rating system, but
No,
okay.
it's not. I
just wanted to bring back. Also, we talked about it when we were playing. You had questions about the rule book. What are your thoughts on the rule book? Or is it?
Yes. No. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, rule book. Thumbs down. Thumbs down on the rule book. Why is that? Because the rules for time and space and what happens when you're joining the area, if you have to fully follow the rules, or you joining another player's area, maybe you get a benefit. There's nothing like that. There's no type of clarity. The way we played it is it's just a regular turn. You're just now in the same space as another player and can interact with those cards, but that means the villain will attack you as well. The rulebook does imply that. It says you're going to join their space and take a turn as normal, but it would have been nice to have something that was a little bit more clear. And I would have also thought it would have been pretty cool to have gotten some type of benefit for defeating Kang and then coming over to help out another player. Because if they do not successfully defeat Kang and the scheme gets completed, well, bad stuff happens. And the bad stuff is no fun because Kang can't take damage in his third form, and he hits like a truck. So, rulebook, other than that aspect, was okay, but I'm definitely getting, at least in my, not going to say like, almost at old age there, but I think the best way to put it is, as I'm becoming more and more familiar with different kinds of rulebook, because we play at least, 52 games a year?
If not more.
If not more. I expect a little bit more clarity in rulebooks, especially when a gamer like myself, you might get things a little confused or remember that rule from that other expansion at the inopportune time. So clarity would be nice. Not a bad rule book, but there is an FAQ already in there, which just goes to show that the rules still needed clarification during testing. But I think we've talked enough about the once and future Kang. I think we're ready to give our rating. What do you say, Julie?
I think as an expansion to the game, as you said, this is a must for an expansion to the game.
If you're a fan of the game.
If you're a fan, yes. I mean, if you don't have the game, don't buy the expansion, obviously. But if you do have the game and you're a fan of it, this, as from an expansion perspective, I'm going to say this is an 8.
I got to agree with you. This is an 8. This is the best expansion, besides Heroes, that has come out for Marvel Champions. We got the Wrecking Crew, and while that was cool, still felt a little too easy. Kang is definitely going to bring the challenge that you want to your table. The only problem is, if you're playing a 3 to 4 player game, it might be the kind of thing you want to play with less players because with all the different stages, it may take you a while.
Mm-hmm.
So with that being said, Julie, what time is it?
It's time to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've already started posting pictures of Julie and I playing the once and future Kang, so you can find those on our social media feeds. And then popping up in front of us are going to be links to our most recently released videos. Well, not necessarily most recently released. The one in front of me is going to take you back to our latest release, and the one in front of Julie is going to take you back to our review on how to play of Marvel Champions, the card game. So now what do we need to do?
Grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow champion.
We're going to keep playing games.
Keep playing games, definitely. Can't wait for Ant-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy. I wonder who will take on Kang with next.
Groot? I want to be Groot.
Next year.